Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to DJ in Real Life here on YouTube. This is your boy DJ. This is my real life on the internet, or what one could call a real life on the internet. Now, it's been a little bit since I did the last episode, but there's been a good reason for it. My mental health. It's been a little bit on precarious side for a while. Had one really bad day, and just it went from there. So, and my body started getting affected. So, I've been trying to take some steps to try and slow myself down and not try to rush my way through things. Just a lot of panic, a lot of anxiety there, and also the depression kicking in. It's a nasty thing to have both at the same time. I've had them both. So, but I did one little change. I started taking an iron supplement. I read somewhere that anxiety and depression may be linked to an iron deficiency. And I didn't know if I had one or not. So I've been taking an iron supplement for about a week now, and it has stabilized me. It's been weird. I've never thought anything like that would work, but my moods have been a little more stable. I haven't been up and down. I haven't been panicky. I've just been even keel. And it's been sort of a nice change of pace to have that. I'm still feeling my emotions, thank God. I'm not like a zombie when I took medications like 20 years ago. I was a zombie then, but it's been calmed down a little bit. I wanted to wait to let that kick in, see if it does any good before I came back on and did the show. And I think it'll show. I think it's been showing a little bit better. I've been actually feeling a little more interested in stuff, so that's actually been a good sign too. Sometimes with mental health, you get your interest, they dwindle when you're trying to go through something. You're just trying to get through the day. So I've been very fortunate in that regard. But other than that, I did do a couple things while I was out today, but that's not the crux of today's episode. Today's episode is about memories of times past. Now, there are a couple things I've never talked about, only because I just never thought to talk about them. It wasn't like a deep secret or anything like that. It's just stuff I'd never thought to talk about before. One of those is from my early childhood. And I decided to take a trip down to Pennsylvania to talk about that. And you'll see that footage here in a little bit. And you'll see that here in a little bit. And the other was something I thought I don't think I've ever talked about. I thought I had, but I hadn't. My time at Ohio State during my second go-round. I mean, I talked about my first go-round. I've talked about things around it and things like when I left and all that stuff. And even stuff leading up to the second go-round. But I've never talked about the year 2004 in any depth or any real detail. So today I'm going to do just that. I already filmed the footage. Everything's ready to go. It's all ready. I just got to get this going here. But today, like I said, today is just a couple of memories of times past. The only other thing I can tell you is that today I had a Big Mac for the first time in a long time. It's been, I could say, about a year, maybe a couple of years. I don't eat them that often. I used to eat them regularly, but when they were cheaper. But now they're up there in price. I'm like, better off going to Burger King. Their prices are a little better. But anyway, I hope you all enjoyed today's trip down memory lane for yours truly. And I'll be back in a little bit with more of that with Coda when I'm done with all the things. So see you in a little bit, guys. Hi there, and welcome back to DJ in Real Life. Your boy DJ right now is currently in Du Bois, Pennsylvania. Now, you're probably wondering, what the hell is DJ doing in Du Bois, Pennsylvania, of all places? Place is a little bit of a throwback. And you're probably wondering, what's so big about this place? What's so special about this place? Well, let me tell you. About late 70s, early 80s, before my brother was born. So it's before 82, obviously. My parents and my family used to have a trailer nearby, camping trailer, over at a place that's nearby Du Bois. It's called Treasure Lake. It's a semi-gate private community. And I was actually hoping to get in today, but I can't because I don't have any reservation. I don't have campground things yet. I'll talk about that in a little bit. But it was semi-private, it's a semi-private community where we had a trailer set in there, and it was an old Leighton trailer. We were talking, it was old back in the 70s. We had it, and it was sort of run down actually, but it's actually to what I would say it'd be to my right, maybe your left. I mean, it's your right. I don't know because the way this camera's oriented here. To my right, it's about 2.5 hours away from Akron. 2.5 hours away from Akron. Um, and we had a trailer set up in Treasure Lake. And we used to come here at least for like a week or two during the summer months. They had a little bit more money to work with at that time, so they got the trailer, and we had a lot, and we had a bunch of lots there that had other trailers. Um, so I've been wanting to check that out for a long time. I did try once before, and it was like during the winter actually, but that was like 10, 15 years ago. But this is my first time I've actually been down here in the DJ in real life era. But it's really is the first time I've actually tried to visit the area since that time. And we're talking, I would say 45 years, maybe 80, 81 was the last time I was here. So we're talking almost 45 years here. So, and I wanted to see what I remembered. I used to pride myself on the streets around here, knowing where things were and stuff. And I remember the streets within Treasure Lake, but I didn't remember the exit. I was able to get off today. I got lucky with that. The things I remember, like Beeline Highway, which is like exit 101 on Route 80, on US 80, Interstate 80, I should say. And I remember going through, there was a booth there before, but it wasn't as well. We had a trailer there, so we were able to get in and out. That wouldn't be a problem. We didn't take the trailer with us. It was a nice long latent trailer. Like I said, sort of run down. The one thing I do remember about the trailer itself is when we stayed in there and we had the beds and had the fold down bed, had the table which turned into a bed, or I think it was a seat, but it was like a corner table. The one thing I remember is always I had one of those old. It was around the time of Star Wars, and I had my Luke Skywalker toys. The first time I had Luke Skywalker, and it had the lightsaber that came out the hand, and it was like retracted, extend. It was one of those old ones. It had a little thing on the side where you pulled it back and pulled it forth. It was one of those old ones. If I had kept that sucker till today, ooh, I probably would have. I probably would have made some good coin on that because that was actually an original. I got it in '77. I actually got it in '77, '78, but I lost it here. So I ended up getting another one when I got home. But I do remember having that specific toy while I was here. But in terms of just trying to revisit some of my old haunts, some old spots where I grew up, where I used to go when I grew up and stuff like that. This was one of the big ones, and and this is one of the last ones I ever had to check out. I've pretty much checked out every place else I've done, but this is the only one I haven't done yet. And I might still try to do so if I get go to KOA or get one of the or hotels that are in the place. I might just go ahead. I might do that. That might be something to do next year. That might be my big trip. Just come down here for a few days and hit up a hotel down here and see what happens with that, and check out Treasure Lake again. I wasn't able to get into the facility today. This was sort of a last minute trip that I took. I decided to just get out and touch grass because I've been in my room. I've been sort of isolated a bit, so wanted to touch grass and get out. So come here to Du Bois, Pennsylvania. There was one regret that I had whenever I thought about coming down here. Whenever I was here, I never came into Du Bois City itself. And now I'm starting to see why I never came in really. But I had never been here in the city itself. I hadn't been across under the bridge that goes, it's because it's goes under the bridge under Route 80, Interstate 80. And I had never been in Du Bois itself. It's just down the street, but I'd never been there. Not in my life. This is my first time ever actually in the city. And currently right now I am in Du Bois Memorial Park. So I'm just parked. I was hoping to do this show from inside Treasure Lake, but that's not possible at the moment. I'm going to have to wait till probably next year when I can get our hotel reservation wherever they have something. I would like to do that. That's one of the things I wanted to do with the show, was visit that particular place, part of my childhood that I wanted to revisit. I remember we had a lineup of trailers. Other people had trailers there. Apparently now it's all cleared out. Now, obviously, my parents sold the trailer before my brother was born, so we didn't have a chance to come back here. I'd like to think I think we sold it before my brother was born, because I don't remember having it after my brother was born. I never came out here, at least not that I remember. Not sure it was capable for a baby at the time. And we're talking 82 at that time. So sometime before that, I was about between 5 and 10 years old that I'd come down here. Actually, I remember maybe I was 4 when I came down here too. But I remember walking down with barefoot and a swimsuit because there was a little inlet that sometimes you could swim there, sometimes you couldn't. It was sort of a tricky proposition sometimes, and a couple times I was able to swim, but other times I couldn't. It may have been because there was fish there, or it may have been because it wasn't cleared out. I don't remember exactly what, but we were basically on our own when it came to, and there was a bathroom station that was down near the river part itself, so we did have a restroom and showers and stuff like that. But we were able to do that. But as a kid, I wanted to see how much I remembered. I wanted to see how much it's changed and stuff like that. And hopefully, maybe next year I'll have the chance to do that. But for this time, I was hoping to just get in if I could and actually film from there, but I couldn't do it. So I'm gonna have to wait until I get something together to go there. But I am out. I am about. I am out in the world. This is my first road trip since Daytona. So real road trip, a couple hours out. So thought I'd just get out and actually do something. I wanted to do something. I wanted to go to Columbus. I might still do that maybe next week or something. I don't know. Got good deals on gas, so I wanted to take advantage of that as well. 25 cents off. It's not nothing to sneeze at per gallon. It's nothing to sneeze at. So wanted to take advantage of that. While I was here, and wow, it's a gorgeous day out. It's like 70 degrees, sunny. It's beautiful out. It's a little chilly. There's a little bit of a chill in the air right now, but like I said, pardon me for jumping around the bit, going around, but I couldn't get into Treasure Lake, and if I go there, I will talk about it more when I go there. But right now, I'm in Du Bois, and Du Bois, I'm going to tell you, it feels like throwback. It feels like I went back in time a little bit, maybe 80s, maybe 90s, late 80s, early 90s, because of the stores and some of the places a lot of places look run down. A lot of places look not abandoned. There's a lot of, newer stuff. There's a few Sheetz. I just saw a couple of Sheetz gas stations around here. You always know those are new. They got founded in Pennsylvania, so I guess there's more of them here anyway. And of course, there's the one that was down the street from me now. It's a new one, just opened last week. But they have a couple things I hadn't seen in a long time. One's a Perkins. They have a Perkins up in Hudson, but I haven't been up that way in a while. And the other thing I haven't seen, it's been a few years, Eaton Park. That's right, the old Eaton Park. Oh, great, there's a bee right on my camera. Sorry about that, folks. But there's Eaton Parks here. I actually saw 3 of them on the way into and around here. I actually stopped in Clarion, saw one there, and actually they got 2 Eaton Parks, and there's one that coming into Du Bois. Coming in and getting that. So I used to go to Eaton Park when it used to be at Chapel Hill Plaza. Gotta watch the bees here. Gee, that's a bee, all right. I mean, it's got the yellow and stuff like that. But anyway, there is a what was that? Where was I? Oh, Eaton Parks. There used to be one where there's a Raising Cane's over at Chapel Hill Plaza. The Raising Cane's is there now. And there was news recently that there was a shootout over there last weekend or a couple weeks, because within the last couple of weeks, there was a shooting out there. So I think it was last weekend. But anyway, there used to be an Eaton Park there, and I used to go there because it was a 24-hour joint. And they tore that closed because they pretty much pulled out of the state of Ohio. They have a few of them here in Pennsylvania, obviously. But that's something I'll have to come and eat here when I have to get something to eat. I don't know. There's an Eaton Park here. I don't know if it's 24-hour here like it was back in Ohio, but they pulled out of the Eaton Park pulled out of Ohio, I'd like to say 10 years ago. It's been a while. It's been a long time since I've been to an Eaton Park. I'd like to say 10 years ago, because Denny's wasn't open yet. They hadn't had a Denny's over there. But it's been a long time since I've been to Eaton Park. So I'm going to have to think about that. And, coming back here, at least I got someplace to eat that I know I'd like to check out. And it's actually near the Perkins and here in Du Bois. But it feels like a run. It feels like I'm back in the 80s, early 90s when it comes to driving around, seeing some of the places. A lot of the architecture, a lot of the buildings, even a lot. I went over to Du Bois Mall. You want to talk about throwback? I felt like the 70s. I was out inside of the mall. Feels like the 70s throwback. Not even 80s. I'm talking 70s, all the way back then. So that would have been interesting because I would have felt just as much if I had been there in the 70s. If I had been here in the 70s and in that mall, then it probably would have had the same. I would have had a nostalgic feeling on that one. That would have been interesting to remember. Um, but I had never been in Du Bois, so I wanted to check it out here, and it's not that really big to talk about here. Only the only reason I'm even down here is just out of curiosity, wanted to see it. So I'm here. I did that, and now I'm probably going when I get off here, I'm probably going to take off out of town and head back home or head back that way. Because I already ate. I had a fat burger, which is I stopped at Cleary and I had a fat burger, as on the chain, and burger's pretty good. They got fat fries. It's basically steak fries, and got it right. It was pretty good. The fat burger was pretty good. I would recommend it. I've got someplace to go if I want to get something to eat on the way here or wherever someplace goes. Maybe if they put any up in near Akron or near in Ohio, I might consider eating there. I mean, if I have an option, that'd be an option for me to consider eating. They're actually a pretty good burger. But I just had a regular cheeseburger. But anyway, I just wanted to check in here and say, hey, I'm on the road. I'm actually trying to get out there and here on YouTube now, and I'm going to take off now because, well, I'm sort of bored, honestly. I could talk more and more, but it'd just be repetitive at this point. So I'm going to go ahead and take off. I will be back on the show soon. I'll be back in Akron soon enough. So take care. God bless. I'll see you when I get back. Welcome back to DJ in Real Life, and this is your boy DJ, and I've got a lot more to talk about right now. As you can see, I've got my Ohio State Buckeye shirt on right now, and that means I'm going to be talking about something related to Ohio State or the Buckeyes. Now, actually, I wish I were in Columbus to do this, but I could do it, but today's sort of game day. While I'm filming this, today's game day, and I don't want to be driving down that way right now. So, and I wanted to get this out of the way because there's a lot to talk about here. But it occurred to me that I talked about my time at Ohio State, how great my last year was. I talked about it with several people over the years, and talked about a couple things here and there related to it. I've talked about the time before it, everything that led up to it. I've talked in detail sometimes. I've talked about some time after it, a little bit, just a little bit. But I've never talked about, excuse me a minute, talked about the actual year itself, the actual year. Ohio State 2004, when I actually went there. Now, I said things here and there, but I was never in detail. Never had much detail about it. Just said it was a great year. But so I decided, you know what? I'm going to go ahead and start talking about it. As the times passed, it was just an interesting year. It was probably one of my better years as overall, as an entire calendar year goes. It was one of my best years ever in my life, and I got something big out of it. It carries me to this day. Now, let me set the stage for you a little bit. 2004, I had been away from Columbus for a few years. Actually, some I should note first is that I actually had a diary that I took from the first few months of that year or so, as well as some of 2003, but I had a lot of 2004 as well, just at least the first few months. So I was able to get some details, which I had to write a lot of that stuff down here. I didn't want to lose my path here talking about this today because it's a big deal to me. But if you see me looking down at my notes, it's because I'm looking down notes. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. So anyway, I'm actually right now in Cuyahoga Falls at Highbridge Glens Park. I was hoping to be in the gazebo, but somebody's got a workstation pretty much set up over there, and as this is a walkable area, and I wanted to do it at a time where it could be somewhat quiet and outdoorsy, and got a perfect day, beautiful day today. Middle of September, amazingly enough. It's going to be a great next week or so. So I got the top down on my Jeep. Didn't expect to have that this year. I thought it'd be miserable like the last couple of years. It's not going to be that. So not sure about my plans for the night either. But anyway, let me get to 2004. Let's set the stage here first. I had not much going for me. I had dropped out of college around 1996 officially. I'd had one quarter there, but 1995 was when I was mainly there. But I went there for one quarter in 1996. I had no prospects. I was back in Akron. I moved back here in 98. And and it was at the end of '98. And it was I had dealing with, and that was I was starting to finally deal with my mental health issues around 2000 and started really facing them. But I had had a breakdown before that. Breakdowns. I've had breakdowns since, but I've had breakdowns around that time. Those were really serious ones where I was contemplating ending my life. But 2003 was sort of a game changer. Actually, something happened in 2002. I got some intensive treatment. So 2003, I ended up going to a club called the Hairy Buffalo. Yeah, I forgot it last time. I can't believe I forgot the name of it. But I went to Hairy Buffalo, met some people, and starting around July, I started getting the idea that I think I talked about this specifically before. Going back, is that I went to a golf course. I volunteered at a golf course for one of the mental health things for a couple days. It was actually a big tournament here. It was Tiger Woods was actually there, and so pretty much every golfer, and they were there for all 4 days. It was a no cut tournament for golf. If anybody knows about golf tournaments, it was at Firestone, and I talked about going to school and not getting my degree, and I had a lot of people telling me, "Aw, you didn't get your degree." And I had so many people do it. I mean, we're talking like 10, 15 people straight doing this in just 2 days, volunteering at a tournament. That I started getting the itch to want to complete my degree. This is back in August of 2003. So everybody's like going, "Aw," and it irritated the hell out of me. So I'm like, you know what? I'm not that far off. Let's see what I can do. So over the next month, I went to the library. I didn't have internet at home. So I went to the internet every day, started applying, started looking at classes, what I'd need. I figured I'd need 1 year at least comfortably to get a degree. It might have been a little longer, I don't know. But for that calendar year, I actually applied for loans. Didn't tell anybody, didn't tell my parents, but I applied for loans, got a little help with that, with the application from one of my friends, Bob and Lynn. They helped me out a little bit. Got some motivation from friends. I talked to people, see if we might be, getting some feedback. One of my friends, Ron, was a big help in that because he'd been starting to travel around. He'd moved back to the area, but he'd been traveling around. He wanted to get ahead himself, so he said go for it. So I decided to do it, and by September it's actually about a week from now, 22 years ago, I got the word that I was going to go back to school. Not only was I going to go back to school, I had the funding to go back for the entire year. Now, get the funds, for tuition, room, board, stuff like that. I need to know if I could afford that. And I got it. And I got my loans. I got my grants. I got a lot of grants. I surprisingly got a lot of grants out of that year. But I got the loans, and I decided, it was weird talking to my parents that I was going to go back to Ohio State. I already got funding. I told them about that. I told them let's go back in January because it started I was able to get in for, I didn't want to get in for autumn quarter because that was too soon, but I could give myself a few months lead time. I could get ready, and I got it. And as of January 2004, I started as a college student again. It was one of the best feelings to be able to know I was going to go back and potentially get my degree. And I was a lot more focused this time. I was a better note taker and stuff like that. And I'll get into that here a little bit. Now I'm going to start going to my notes. So if I'm looking down, don't be surprised. I'm just reading off what I got here. I'm going to start with the beginning of the year. It was literally January 2nd. January 1st, I went to a club, went out, but January 2nd is literally when I moved right back down to Columbus. Now, I started back there literally right after New Year's Day on the 2nd of January. I moved into Minoan House, which is on 15th Avenue, away from the dorms. It was a building that was loaned to the university by the Delta Tau Delta, I think sorority or fraternity, one of the Greek houses there, because I think they were on suspension or something. So they leased it to the university, and it became a dormitory for non-traditional students like myself, or international ones. It was originally for France, but they had a lot of different ones because I was in a lot of people in that dorm were not from from America. I think there was only one other person that was in from and I think I may have been the resident advisor. I may have been the only other American in that house. This was Delta Tau Delta. It's not that far away from High Street. It's behind the old SPX and the old Long's bookstore, the old Long's bookstore. Um, it, it will be torn down. I'll talk about that later too. But anyway, they would reclaim it at the end of spring quarters, so I would be moving to another place, and I'll talk about that a little bit as well. Um, but for winter quarter, I had to use the internet on campus at Baker Systems Building because I had to use it that way my first go around because and had to do so again. I used it my first go round, I should say, when I was there, and I had to do so again at least for the first 3 months of my time there for the first quarter that I was there, because I didn't have a computer of my own just yet. Um, I was lucky because first couple weeks I was there. This is just little stories here and there. I'm going to go back and forth here, so just bear with me. I got some seriously discounted pop at a nearby Kroger for that I could, but the catch was I could only get one per day, and I had the sale going on for like 2.5 weeks, and it was like $350 for a 24 pack of pop, and that was unheard of at the time. You know, that's a really cheap deal. So I had to go back and to take the bus. Well, I didn't have a car, so I had to walk down, take the bus, go down to Kroger once a day for 2 weeks straight, and then go down, get the pop, come back, carry it with me, and it was a carry, trust me. And I just did that for like 2 weeks straight. So it's still one of the best deals I've ever gotten to this day in terms of getting any kind of deal that I get. It's one of the things I pride myself on. People know I pride myself on getting some deals. As far as classes went, things were different from before. I was a better note taker and class attender for most of the year, with the exception of one poli-sci class, which I sparsely attended yet still got a B out of it, amazingly enough. I got better at note taking because I was starting to write a diary, and I started taking notes of my feelings and just starting to pay better attention to what I was doing in most class type situations. So it really benefited me being away to learn how to do that after leaving the first time. With the goal of a degree so close, I stepped up, became a better student overall because of it, and my grades reflected that. I'll talk about that at the end here. Generally, because I had a year left, I was going to have a more intensive class schedule for the year, because I thought, well, I need as much as I could get. But I realized halfway through my year that it was too intense for me to handle, and it sort of drove me a little batty. So I scaled back the second half of the year, but still had enough credits to graduate without being burned out. I was going to have a minor in economics, but that plan changed because economics drove me nuts, and it was also my brother's major anyway. I could probably call him, but he was still in school himself. But I changed it up communications because instead, like I said, econ drove me nuts. And it was one of the things that was like, if I was going to be intensive, I actually stopped doing therapy for a while. After I did a couple of quarters of econ, I actually started going back to therapy. It was one of the few things that drove me back in a class, drove me into therapy, back into therapy. But that's it. It feels more like a joke than the truth, but it is the truth. I still had anxieties. Don't get me wrong, I still deal with anxieties to this day. But my anxieties changed from Akron-based issues, including like especially home, to campus-based ones, necessitating a need for some more therapy in the last half of the year. It was the class schedule and just handling stuff. I wanted to get a good check on myself. I thought maybe I could get through without having to get any, but I needed it. So the last half of the year, I went to some therapists on campus, and they helped me mentally get through a few rough spots and get a couple things going before I graduate from college. Page 1 done. Let's go to page 2 here. My notes. When I was down there, one of the things I didn't feel like I did first go around at Ohio State was I didn't take advantage of every opportunity I had. I consciously made an effort to try and take advantage of any event, any deal, anything going on, any class, anything I wanted to do, any events and deals going on around OSU whenever I could. My student ID actually doubled as a free COTA bus pass. So I got around town I was able to get around town to do stuff and actually go down to places like, be able to head to places like Save a Lot and Aldi to get, still over there, to do stuff and get some cheaper groceries away from campus. Cause campus they could jack up the prices on stuff, and they even just in nearby neighborhoods, it would have been jacked up a little bit. So I was able to go to places so I could get cheaper groceries and get a free bus pass to do so. I got a few ticket. I got some tickets to things and attended a lot of various events outside of classes. Give you an idea of who I saw during that 1 year alone. I went to events regarding Spike Lee. Not impressed with the guy. I hate to say it, I'm not impressed with him. Jerry Springer. I got to see the movie Euro Trip before it was released in theaters. I got a free ticket to that to go downtown and got to see a free ticket to that. That was so cool. Got to see Judge Joe Brown. I went to the African American Center. I was the only white guy in there. That was really fun. But I wanted to see it. The dude, Jeff Dowd, from if people know who he is. That's a big deal. I saw him during election season. Some comics from Last Comic Standing. They had a concert at the old Ohio Union. There's a new one now. They tore it down and put up a new one after I left. I got to meet Paul Newman. It's a big deal. Paul Newman, one of the greatest actors ever, and other people and other stuff I got to see while I was down there. I can't, not off the top of my head. There were a few people I'd seen. Nothing I could remember when I was running my notes down. Aside from that stuff, I tried to indulge in activities, but was conscientious enough to not have those interfere with my classes or my studies. The two big things I did was I volunteered at K-Bucks Online Radio, which was the underground. They used to have a radio station there, and they went to online only. They get transferred to something else. It's now part of the communications department. Finally, it was something I tried to work with in that year, but that didn't happen. Nothing came of it. And I also worked the Kerry Edwards Democratic presidential campaign. At that time, I actually got to see a Bruce Springsteen concert for free on the South Oval in October of that year, and that was great. I actually missed part of that concert because it was actually a rally, but it was really a concert. I missed part of it because I had a hip hop class. Talk about that a little bit too, but there were some. I tried. Those are the two things that I was able to. I felt like I finished and I got a lot out of. And those two things still carry me to this day in terms of stuff I'm doing, including this show, including what I'm trying to get back now. Don't watch my car there. But anyway, there are some aborted activities I tried, just stuff that I tried to get into, but for some reason just never panned out. I tried to get involved in a local TV show as an extra, just it's something called College. It's with a K, I believe. I tried to do an extra at that, but they never called me back. Tried to establish an actual radio station. That didn't, that was after K-Bucks. I was exactly happy with them, but I wanted to decide that now, as part of the communications department, now they have something like that for, I guess, units or something like that. It's part of the OSU on campus now. 20 years later, actually, it probably happened about 10 years after I left. I tried to out for an improv group. Just didn't take. They had one meeting and they never called me back. And I don't know why. I don't think they were trying to establish one, and it just never came to fruition. But whatever, those continued on due to things, other people's action, not my own. I wanted to stick around, but nothing came around. Anyway, let me. A lot of y'all remember that I was a club guy. I liked when I first came around to Ohio State, I went to Park Alley and then Flyers. Later on, I went to Club Dance, and then when I come back up here, I went to Banana Joe's and Margarita Mama's, which I was depressed as hell. Then I went to Harry Buffalo. This year, this one particular with 2004, I didn't go to too many clubs. I went a few times, but not that often. Usually it was during the breaks, and only a couple times I do go during the year. And a couple times I went to just sit down bar because I was with other classmates. But I was focused on my studies and getting my degree. In terms of connecting with folks outside of school, generally, it seemed as though I was making the effort to keep in touch with people, but it wasn't all that reciprocated. That's something I still struggle with to this day. But that time when I went back to school is when I really noticed it. I thought people were reaching out to me when I was in Columbus, when I was back in Akron, but when I got to Columbus, it started tapering off a lot. And then I found out, other details later about other people having problems with me after I left Columbus, stuff like that, all that stuff. But it wasn't all that reciprocated. Some people did, mind you. Don't get me wrong, and I don't want to talk about them because those guys, they were great to me. They know who they are. If you know who you are, don't worry, I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about the people who I thought were my friends, and then they decided to just drop me like a bad habit, or drop me like a good habit. Who knows? But for a lot of people, it just seemed like it was only a one-way effort for too many folks, and that being for me to them, which is something I would, like I said, be more pronounced as years wore on. But my recognition, like I said, my recognition of that particular aspect of what was going on around me started when I was that year in 2004. Um, Now, in terms of my living situation, I lived in the first half of the year in the aforementioned Nolan House, but the second half of the year I lived in Jones Tower on campus. It's normally a grad dorm, but it's also for non-traditional myself at that time because I'm older. I'm several years past what expect about 10 years past what people expect of a college student living on campus. Um, I once lived there in the summer of 1993 because it was the only summer housing at the time, and it was one of the funnest times I had. I wasn't a great student at the time, but it was one of the funnest times I had. I got my first girlfriend. I had started, I had my own place, had my own bathroom. Still had it in the second half of Jones Tower, but um, I was able to go on the roof at that time. We were able to go up on the roof and watch fireworks, and I actually saw a tornado once from there. It was so cool. But the last 6 months of 2004 were not like 1993. It was partially because I was focused on the studies and I wanted to get that done. But I was still living there. I lived there until the end of my term, until I graduated. Um, let's go to this last page here. One more page here, and I'll get some notes, and I'll talk about a few other things here. Um, for the first quarter, I struggled a lot with money, and I tried to spend a lot because I had to get books, I had to get all that other stuff, food woes. I had a lot of that stuff. I would go to events just to get food, student events just to get food, and I get a little bit extra, like snacks here and there, so I could get myself through the day. And that was half of my first quarter. I didn't budget too well. I wasn't that good a budgeter at that time. I always had trouble with money at that point. I wasn't that good a budgeter at that time, but after I got there, after I'd say second quarter on, about March on, I got a lot better with it. I was able to get the food I needed. I was able to get to. That was when I started discovering going to places like Aldi and Save a Lot. When I got my Coda, using Coda Pass, I decided to do that route, and I started saving a lot more money, and it was a lot better to work with. And I figured out a real budget to work with and what I really need to survive. And I will say, let me finish this off here with the last notes I have on here. At the out of bottom quarter of 2004, I finally earned, not just got, but I earned, not just yet, but earned my degree from Ohio State. It was a Bachelor of Arts in Sociology with a minor in Communications. And be honest, be frank with y'all. Even though I got my degree, if I'm being honest with myself, I got more out of my minor after graduating than I did my major. Sure, the degree itself opened a couple of doors, but those didn't last. And my focus was on just getting a degree at that time, so I could have at least one big major accomplishment, milestone accomplishment in my life. That was my real, not real reason for going after the degree, was getting that milestone achievement, and I got that. I've had a few since. Don't get me wrong, including the show right now, but I had several since. But I really needed that first one because I hadn't had really anything big to hang my hat on as a person, hang my hat on as say, or I'm a Ohio State graduate. I couldn't do that. I was a high school graduate and college dropout at that point until that time. So it made a big difference to my psychological, to my to my psyche. That's what I'm going to say. To my psyche. Let me see where am I at here. The minor, the communication, as well as my work at K-Bucks, are pretty much the foundations for what you're watching right now, DJ in real life. So I could say that final year in school, it did give me some stuff to use that I use to this day. Now, that's just the notes that I have. There are a couple other things I do want to note. When I did go to the clubs, I did reunite with a couple of people that I knew like years before, or when I was down there. I went to a downtown club once. I reunited with a friend of mine I hadn't seen in years, Kevin Gilchrist. I also saw a guy who a lot of you know as Boogie. His name is Bobby Bowman. He was on iCarly, and quite frankly, he was a stuck-up asshole. He was just like, he looked like he couldn't be more bothered by somebody saying hi to him. I don't know what he was like when he went to Hollywood. He's on iCarly, so I don't know. I don't know what he's like now. I don't even know if he's back there. I don't know what's up with him. Right now I don't care. He's not a part of my life. But it was something I really noted about that time. I met him then when I was at the downtown club. It used to be a big club. It's gone now. I don't know what's there now. There was another club on campus that I went to with I took some hip hop classes my last 2 quarters. I took hip hop classes because I thought it'd be easy, and they were sort of easy in terms of me being involved. But I want to take that so I could ease my way out and ease my way back into the world. Um, I didn't take too well either, but still got the dance again. I was happy about that. But one of my classmates, some of my classmates from my class, we all went to a club one night, and I got stone crazy drunk to the point where I went back to Jones Tower because I remember this was the last half of the year, and I went and puked for about an hour. It was the first hangover I really had it. God knows how long. I think it's been 4 or 5 years at that point. I'd say maybe I don't know about 3 years because I think it was 2001 I had that. But that was one of the big events there. Didn't go to club dance. I only went there like maybe once, maybe actually twice. I'd like to say, once with friends and once once I took the bus. So I went there at least twice. Of course, club dance now is now aftermath, and it's a totally different vibe, totally different thing. It's not the same as it was back in the day. I'd love to bring that kind of vibe back. I talked about that before, but I don't know about that. But anyway, that was my time at Ohio State. I got my degree, and I moved out and got stuck with a roommate for about a few months, and then I got my own place in Westerville for a few years. So that's basically general stuff about. But OSU, going back there, going the first time changed my life because I saw have life outside what I knew before. But this time, in 2004, I got to succeed. I felt like I had success. It was a real first true lasting success I had, because I had jobs and I'd had burnout, I had bankruptcy, all the other stuff that came before. After that year, it changed me because now I had something to hang my hat on. That's something that I keep it with me to this day, and it's weird because I got disconnected. I talked about months ago being disconnected from the university back in January. I talked about this actually. I had felt disconnected after I graduated. Now, when I went back for the championship game back in January, when I went down there to watch the game with other OSU students and got into the stadium, go check out Instagram Live, the old Instagram DJ in Real Life. You can see the footage of that. It's in January when that happened. I finally felt reconnected. Now I'm back with that connection. I still feel that even now to this day. Partially because I was able to go back, and partially because a lot of different things, things have happened since then. So, but it was one of the having that feeling back and feeling connected with the university and feeling connected with Ohio State, and pretty much being reconnected with my past. It's a big deal to me. It's so strange to not. I didn't have it for so long, and now I got it back after 20 years. So, very happy about that. Doesn't hurt that we were national champions. So that really helped with that, but just being there and doing stuff, staying an extra day so I could do that. It was cold then. I am due for another trip down there. Maybe not to Ohio State specifically, but to Columbus. I don't know when I'll take that trip, but I hope you guys got at least a general idea of what that year, 2004, really meant to me personally, even meant to me professionally. Pardon my belching there. And what it meant to me, in terms of having this show now. I don't think I would have the show right now, DJ in Real Life, if I didn't go back. I always wanted to chronicle things, and now, if I didn't have the tools, I'd learned some tools there and learned stuff there that I now use to this day. So I'm really, it's been a blessing to have that back and have that feeling back as well. So, on that note, I'm going to take off for now. From Cuyahoga Falls, this is your boy DJ saying, I will be back on the show soon. Be back with the rest of the episodes soon. So, just going to take off for now. So, take care and God bless everyone. Welcome back to the show. I hope you enjoyed today's little trip down memory lane and this episode in particular. On that note, I'm just going to go ahead and take off here. I've already said a lot, so I'm just going to go ahead and take off. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the YouTube page and the YouTube channel so that the more likes and subscriptions I can get, the more I can do. Also, don't forget to look at my social media on Instagram and Facebook. Hook up with those as well when you get the chance. So until next time, folks, it's your boy DJ saying take care, God bless, and I'll see you, that's you, on the flip side. Goodbye, everybody.